All right, so the question itself. The bar chart below illustrates 5 different industries' percentage share of Brazil's economy in 2009 and 2019 with a forecast for 2029. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, then, so we are being told how to answer this question. We need to select and report the main features. So, not every single feature. We are just going to look at the most striking or important ones. And we're also going to make comparisons, again, where relevant. So, in other words, where they are particularly large differences or maybe important differences. So, as with the reporting and selecting, the comparisons, we're not comparing absolutely everything. We're being selective, which is a very important skill for the IELTS Task 1. Alrighty, so what are we actually looking at? Let's have a think about the question a bit more. So the bar chart will show different industries and their percentage share of Brazil's economy. So in other words, how much do they take up of Brazil's overall economy in 2009, 19, and a future year? So we'll bear that in mind when we're thinking about tense for writing. Okay, so let's bring in the bar chart itself. Here we go. On the x-axis here, we have the industries. We have finance, food processing, manufacturing, tourism, oil, coal, and gas, sorry. Okay, and then on the y-axis, we have the percentage. So it goes from 0 to 45%. And then the different coloured bars here refer to the different years. So blue for 2009, orange 2019, and then the future year in grey. All right, so initial thoughts then. Wow, finance is really taking a big share for all years. On the other hand, manufacturing is almost following the opposite course in terms of it's decreasing, and instead of it's actually, yes, instead of finance going up in 2029, manufacturing is going down and predicted for 2029. Okay, and then we have tourism, oil and gas, sort of similar ballparks here, food processing. Alrighty. So we've had to think about the graph itself, the bar charts. And now it's time for our plan. So a big part of task 1 and something you'll be assessed on is your ability to group this information together. So we want to make 2 logical, clear, distinct groups that are going to show the examiner that we can almost link up information and parts of the chart and do that in a logical way. Alrighty then, so what we could do the years. We could join up 2009 and 19 maybe, and the future year perhaps, and then talk about use the future tense for this group. Or we could potentially group up some of the industries themselves. So perhaps we could do finance and oil, coal and gas, and tourism, because they are all higher than say 20% of the share. And then we could look at food processing and manufacturing, because they are mostly under 20% perhaps. Yeah, let's go for that one. I'll show you how you can do that today. So let's go finance. oil, coal and gas, and tourism over 20%. So these are just our notes, but so you don't have to worry about doing full sentences here. But obviously, this is going to help you in the exams, so you want them to be clear to you. Make sure that you understand your notes. Okay, and then what do we have left? We have food processing and manufacturing. Manufacturing. Okay, so we have our groups, and let's do mostly under 20%. There we go. Our overview then. Now this is really important, and this is a big part of task 1. We want to make a sweeping statement to basically summarize what we're viewing here. So we could talk about finance. Finance is and will be or maybe was. Finance was and will be the largest proportion of Brazil's economy. That's okay. We're going out of the box here. Not a problem. We'll just move that up. Okay, so we could talk about finance in the overview. We could also mention perhaps manufacturing or something else if we want to, but really this is just a sweeping statement to summarize what we're seeing in front of us. So we don't have to worry about it being too long. We can make it quite short. All right, so once the plan is done, we can go to our write-up. So we have the question here, and we also have some lovely words that we can use which really help us put our point across. So we have verbs and different synonyms for words like decreased, increased, stayed the same. And when you pair them with adverbs, they create really nice sentences and structures that will help you talk about what we're seeing here in an effective, succinct way. So you won't have this in the exam, unfortunately, but that is here to help us with our write-up today. Okay then, so you might be thinking, well, what do we need to do to start our essay? Good question. We need to paraphrase the first sentence here. In other words, the bar chart below illustrates 5 different industries' percentage share of Brazil's economy in 2009 and 19 with a forecast for 2029. Okay, so we don't need to paraphrase every single word because we want to keep the meaning, but we want to paraphrase where we can. So it's hard to paraphrase the bar chart, so we'll keep that in. The bar chart below illustrates, the bar chart displays various sectors, industries, and the share they take of Brazil's financial economy is a hard one to paraphrase. Brazil's we'll keep it in for now. Maybe we'll change it at some point. Economy in the years 2009, 2019, and also a future prediction for 2029. The bar chart displays various sectors and the share they take of Brazil's economy, or Brazil's, we could say maybe, finances. In the years 2009, 2019, and also a future prediction for 2029. Okay, so we've paraphrased. Now, what do we have to do? Well, we put in our overview now in a separate paragraph. So, an overview, sorry, is nice to begin with a sweeping statement or a phrase such as "on the whole." We can use "in general" because we're just being very well, we're generalizing here. That's the whole point of our overview. In general, finance was the largest, was and will be the largest proportion of the economy for all years compared with the other business areas. Let's read this back. In general, finance was and will be the largest proportion of the economy for all years compared with the other business areas. Okay, there we go. So you'll notice in our overview, we're not using specific information. We are just saying a general overview from what we can see. So the groups is where you can really dive in and take the relevant and important main features from here and use that in your essay, and that's what I'm going to show you now. Okay, so group one, it was over 20%. So let's just show the examiner, okay, this is how we're grouping it. So we can say 3. As long as we can say the words from the questions here and there, as long as we're not repeating ourselves too much, then that's the most important thing. 3 industries consistently were over and will be over. We're always including that future prediction. 20% of the total. 3 industries consistently were over and will be over 20% of the total. Okay, so let's talk about, we've mentioned finance, so let's stick with that because that is a dramatic section of the bar chart. Finance is the we could talk about this dramatic increase. Finance was strikingly, or finance's percentage was strikingly higher than every other industry. We've used industry, every other maybe venture. And let's talk about the future. And in 2029, this was higher than every other venture and increasing each year, or increasing every 10 years, because we're talking about the difference in the years here. In 2029, this figure will stand at, we have a gap of 5, so 41, 42, maybe 42% or 41%. 42. Okay, so we've addressed finance. Now let's pick a few other points for this group. So we have oil and gas and tourism as well. Let's talk about oil, coal, and gas and the year 2009. Oil, coal, and gas also saw the largest saw the most, or oil, coal, and gas saw the most financially successful year in 2019. And let's do 31%. 31%. Okay, and then we could talk about tourism and how it's at 21, and this doesn't look to change in the future. Tourism for all years is just above 20%. In 2019, this figure stood at 21%, and we can use this word plateaued, which means stayed the same. And this is a tricky spelling here, plateaued. For 2029. Oh, 2029. Okay, let's read this back. 3 industries consistently were over and will be over 20% of the total. Finance's percentage was strikingly higher than every other venture, so we're comparing, and increasing every 10 years. In 2029, this figure will stand at 42%. Oil, coal, and gas saw the most financially successful year in 2019, 31%. Tourism for all years is just above 20%. In 2019, this figure stood at 21% and plateaued for 2029. So you can see that we are stating figures, but we don't always have to put the percentage. We can talk about them in other ways, which is quite nice as well. So we're mixing that up a bit, different sentence structures. Okay then, so the next 2 groups, food processing and manufacturing. The other 2 parts of the economy were, now they weren't always under 20%, but we could say were mostly under 2 parts of the economy, and their share was mostly under 20%. So we're sort of grouping them together here and telling the examiner this is how we're going to put them together. So let's just pull a few details from let's start with food processing and their successful year in 2019. The highest figure or number for food processing was in the year 2019, and I like a brackets, we can do 21%. And let's do manufacturing, or maybe we could just touch upon the other 2 years. Other 2 years for 2009 and 2029 stand and will be the same figure. We have, just over 10% there, I would say, just over 10%. On the other hand, so now we're comparing, on the other hand, manufacturing saw 21% in the year 2009 and witnessed and will see a rapid drop in percentage by the year 2029, and that's to another bracket that falls to 5%. Okay, let's read this back. The other two parts of the economy and their share was mostly under 20%. The highest number for food processing was the year 2019, 21%. 2009 and 2029 stand or stood, we're always checking the tense here, stood and will be the same figure, just over 10%. On the other hand, manufacturing saw 21% in the year 2009 and witnessed and will see a rapid drop in percentage by the year 2029. Let's remove that, it's a bit confusing. There we go. Okay then, so let's count the words. For this, we're looking for a minimum of 150. All right, so that comes to 176 words. So a bit over the 150 minimum, but there is no upper limit. So you can, if you're a fast writer or typer, then you have that time and you can write as much as you can, really. I would say as long as you're answering the question and you're not commenting on everything, then you're welcome to write more if you can. Okay, so that was our first task, all about this bar chart regarding Brazil's economy. Okay,